Good morning, everyone, and welcome into Wake and Take. It's your boy Jason, and we've got some football to talk about today. Today, we're going to talk about some off-season hype building around a few players, and apparently, we're going to talk the Justin Jefferson payday as well, as that just broke up within the hour. I think it was about 30 minutes ago. So we'll be talking about that, as well as its zest. Do you guys know how good it is? How great it feels to start your morning with Wake and Take with you wonderful people, to hop into the StreamYard room and see a comment that says, "Let's go. Can't wait for another morning with this handsome devil in my ear about football." It's Zess. You have made my day. Thank you so much for that wonderful comment, and good morning to the rest of you. Let's go ahead, take out our coffee, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. And before we get into the football, I just want to share a little bit of a story with you guys. We can't necessarily call it a lifestyle hack, but there are certainly some lessons to be learned from my time this weekend. This weekend, some of you know, especially if you're in the Wake and Take Invitational League, me and Madison, my girlfriend, we went out to the Great Smoky Mountains, did a little bit of a camping trip. And on our way home, we decided to go the long way around. Instead of just going straight down south to Atlanta, we decided to go back up north through the park and then go around left down the Appalachian foothills, back down to Atlanta, cutting across North Carolina and Tennessee. Well, I don't know if there are any car or motorcycle enthusiasts in the audience, but if you are, you might start to realize what I've said, and that is take the Appalachian foothills south and then cut across some roads in Tennessee and North Carolina to get back through Atlanta. Well, one of the roads you have to take to do that is a wonderful road called 129. And what I did not know is that 129 is famously a very difficult and also fun a road to drive on, where people come from all around the world to ride this thing called the Tail of the Dragon. And I have a pamphlet over here, actually, about this thing. And your boy drove this. That's my 2013 Honda Civic on the 129 Tail of the Dragon. So I'm going to read a little bit about what this thing is. The Tail of the Dragon at Deals Gap is America's favorite two-lane touring road. There is no other road even close to matching the challenge of 318 curves in 11 miles of desolate Smoky Mountain asphalt. So yeah, that is, I'm here obviously, but yeah, driving home with the girlfriend, just, trying to get some scenic roads, see some views, and then get stuck on a literal racetrack. I was driving this thing and it felt so cool. You're hugging turns, going through. The road is designed beautifully. Highly recommended if you're a driver. I had to pull over at one point because a Toyota Supra was nailing that thing. But then, believe it or not, guys, I did make a BMW pull over for me. So, hey, you win some, you lose some. Pretty proud of myself for what the locals called conquering the dragon. It was I had never in my life seen anything like this. There were so many cars that were nice. And I'm telling you, look, there were photographers at every corner. This was one of them. Not all of them have been uploaded yet, but there are a bunch of photography places. I'm very excited to spend a couple hours today just going through. I just accidentally, I highly recommend just kind of learning about this thing, the Tail of the Dragon. Yeah, very cool little fun story. Highly recommend going to the Smokies as well. Had a great time. We saw a bear, we saw some elk, we saw a baby squirrel. It was awesome. So great trip. If you guys are near any national parks, highly recommend it. Just do a little camping, spend the weekend. Our national parks are beautiful. All of the parks in our country are beautiful. And there's some great ones in Canada too, to the Canadian audience, of course, just to go enjoy our park system. Outside is awesome. Nature is awesome. And so is football. Let's go. Justin Jefferson has signed a massive contract. Justin Jefferson today, just within the hour, signs a 4-year, $140 million contract extension with $110 million of that guaranteed. That is a lot of money, ladies and gentlemen, making him the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history. and 89 million of that is due at signing. So Justin Jefferson, a happy camper this morning. And so, of course, are Ja'Marr Chase and CeeDee Lamb seeing this contract come through before their, impending payday. While this is a huge contract for Justin Jefferson, I very much expect him not to be the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history for very much longer. I do think Ja'Marr Chase or CeeDee Lamb will beat this contract, but that doesn't really matter. You're here for the information about what this contract extension means for Justin Jefferson, and it is probably nothing, right? I mean, like, we all knew this was going to happen. We've just kind of been waiting for the confirmation. But Justin Jefferson, still wide receiver 1 on the Vikings, still going to get a ton of targets. And Jordan Addison and TJ Hawkinson are still there as well. The big takeaway here is that those of you who drafted JJ McCarthy while it was still, uncertain, even though it wasn't, congratulations. There will be a little bit of an uptick in JJ McCarthy's value now with this just being confirmed, right? That's something we like in fantasy football, is we can speculate all we want, but once the actual confirmation comes through, that's when the value actually rises. Like with Jared Goff, for example, just a little bit ago, we were all, talking about how you need to be buying Jared Goff because the extension is imminent, and then the extension comes and he becomes a little bit more expensive. You've got to capitalize before. That's why I had been saying for, the past few months to try to buy Justin Jefferson while this window was open. I imagine it closes. However, we do still sometimes see in fantasy football when news hits like this, people get excited about their player, getting an uptick in value, and they put him on the block just to see what they could get. So, it'll be a little bit of both, but either way, Justin Jefferson, totally deserving of this contract, fantastic wide receiver. And I think really the biggest takeaway that we get from this is just that JJ McCarthy probably needs to be bought really at any price. I mean, obviously not like an insane price, but like definitely at his value. And if you have to overpay a little bit to get JJ McCarthy, I don't blame you, especially in superflex leagues. Yeah, sure. Again, I like JJ McCarthy. I'm a Michigan fan. I do believe in the talent. I think he's landed in an incredible system. If you'd like to learn more about that, you can go to playerprofiler.com, go to the articles section, and look up rookie landing spots. It's going to be the most recent article. It has a spot. Me, Seth, Theo, Matt D, and Matt Babich, we all picked one rookie landing spot to coin our best. Mine was just JJ McCarthy. I just think that that's incredible for him. And so I want to take that chance. If it fails, it fails. But right now he's a decent value with being able to throw the ball to Justin Jefferson, Kevin O'Connell, his coach, TJ Hawkinson still there, Jordan Addison still there, a decent enough offensive line, a decent enough defense, a very competitive division with shootouts all over. I want JJ McCarthy. So that's really my big takeaway from the Justin Jefferson extension. Congratulations to him, as that is incredible, incredible, incredible stuff. The actual news that I had prepared for you guys today comes after I take Pip to the other room as he's deciding to have a good morning. Pip, hold on. Step up, bud. Sing to the audience. No? Wee, wee, woo. No, he's camera shy. He only wants to sing when he isn't visible. But either way, let's hear a little bit from our sponsor today, the FFPC.
Hey, why do we partner with the FFPC? Because they have the widest variety of fantasy football formats, and it's the easiest place to find all types of fantasy football contests in the world. What if you want to play for high stakes? Well, they have a $6 million prize pool with their Fantasy Players Championship. They also have way too early best ball leagues that start in February and dynasty leagues. They have the closest thing to a liquid market for orphans that there is in all of Dynasty. And the FFPC has sponsored us for half a decade because we are actually delivering information that can help fantasy gamers, and they're generating so much interest into bringing in so many new users, casual users even. The FFPC creates a unique experience where you can both compete against the best and make money. Use promo code UNDERWORLD to get $25 off your first team. $25 off your first team at the FFPC with promo code UNDERWORLD. Go get it!
Go sign up for the FFPC. Great stuff happening over there. As we saw last week, we had the hard way draft with tons of player profiler personnel drafting in it without any information, just a pencil and paper. It's all up here. So it's a tough draft, and they've, of course, got all sorts of different contests going on with a bunch of different interesting formats. The FFPC is great if you're a high-stakes player. And even if you're not, they have some cheaper teams as well. As mentioned, you get $25 off your first team with the promo code UNDERWORLD or player. Whatever Podfather said. So either way, we've got some news for you today. As the title says, Offseason Hype is building, but it's not necessarily building for Dalton Kincaid, as I found a concerning interview. And maybe he's just, coy, and I get it. Some people in life are just a little timid and coy and, not that confident. But this is what Dalton Kincaid said when asked about his increased role next season. I wouldn't say I'm the guy. I think we have quite a bit of weapons on offense. We're going to open everybody up, and with Josh Allen back there, he's going to get everybody the ball. I think definitely I'll have a couple more targets this year, which will be nice. Obviously, the room looks a lot different this year. Just a lot of selfless guys. I feel like that transition has gone really well. How are you going to get asked? Hey, Dalton, it looks like you're going to have an increased role this offseason with Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis gone. How do you take it? I wouldn't say I'm the guy. I think this offense is going to spread it around a lot. That is awful news. That is just, you do not want to hear that. You want to hear, oh yeah, I'm excited. I think I'm going to crush it. But no, he instead completely put anything to rest about him becoming the guy right there with that quote. Now, of course, we still have a long off season and maybe he will become the focal point. But it is again, we've been saying this now for a few weeks with everything we're hearing. It sounds like the Bills just want to spread it around. It doesn't really sound like they want to focus on any one target. They tried with Stephon Diggs for a while, and it's failed season after season after season. And they just watched the Kansas City Chiefs win the Super Bowl without a focal point. Right. And so I don't really think that's in the game plan. I really don't, because we saw last year from Dalton Kincaid, he obviously produced, but he also didn't produce. Like it was exactly like it was, or like it should be this year, where, different Buffalo Bills are doing well. Sometimes it's Dawson Knox. Sometimes it's Dalton Kincaid. Sometimes it's James Cook. Sometimes pretty much always it was Stephon Diggs. But next year, we're going to be talking about, instead of Stephon Diggs having a week, it'll be Marcus Valdes-Scantling randomly, and Mac Hollins randomly, and Khalil Shakir randomly, and Dalton Kincaid randomly. Like, it's just going to be big weeks for a lot of different receivers on this Bills team. That's evidenced, by this quote, Dalton Kincaid saying, I'm not the guy. Josh Allen's going to get everybody the ball, but also just by what we're hearing from the OTAs and camps here at the Buffalo Bills. Josh Allen and all of the wide receivers staying after to continue to build their connection with Josh Allen. Them just bringing in a bunch of different guys, right? It's just, it's going to be a spread around offense. There's no true focal point, and that's fine. And again, I say, just buy Josh Allen. And if you have Dalton Kincaid, just trade him. I don't get it. You can take Dalton Kincaid and trade him for Sam Laporta, who produced more and has a more clear line to pathway to targets. Or you could take Dalton Kincaid and trade him for Kyle Pitts, for TJ Hawkinson, for Mark Andrews, for Trey McBride. I would rather have those tight ends that have a very clear role, that have more proven production, and in Kyle Pitts' case, younger than Dalton Kincaid. So either way, I would have liked to hear a bit more confidence from him. But also, I like, the kind of, we're going to open everybody up. And with Josh Allen back there, he's going to get everybody the ball. That's what we've been saying. That's what we've been expecting. I can't imagine that anyone here becomes a true alpha on this offense. And even if they do, it's going to be, I guess what I should say is Dalton Kincaid isn't going to be a guy that averages 11 targets a game. But he probably still will have a good floor. I'm not trying to say that at all. I think he's still going to have a 5-6 point floor, which is pretty good for a tight end, especially last season when he had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games under 8 points, 9 under 10. So, it's 10 under 10, 10 games under 10 points last year, actually, for Dalton Kincaid. I think we could expect much of the same. He had no 20-point games. He only had one game with more than 10 targets. In fact, he only had one game with more than 8 targets. And that was 1 week, I believe. Dawson Knox wasn't out there. So he took in 10 of his 11 targets for 81 yards, didn't score a touchdown. I don't know. I think he's going to be fine. Just like the rest of the Bills' weapons. So I don't understand the price discrepancy. Like, at least with James Cook, like, he's the featured running back, but he's like RB12 in rankings. Or, Keon Coleman, he's probably the wide receiver 1 in this offense, and he's like, wide receiver 30 or 40 or something. But Dalton Kincaid, he's like tight end 1A, really. I mean, Dawson Knox is still there. I know that he doesn't get a ton of volume, but he does get red zone targets. So I'm out on Dalton Kincaid at his price right now. As good of a player as he is, I mean, you can look and find some really good metrics on him. But it's just, I really don't think the volume is really going to be there. And I don't know if the spike weeks are really going to be there either. We'll see. I'm happy to get burned by him, especially in the tight end market where you can get Kyle Pitts for him. So either way, that's the unhype on Dalton Kincaid, saying he's not the guy. which is just weird to me. I don't know. But the comment says he's just being humble. Yes, that is the case, but I think there's a better way to say it, as we'll talk about here with the Titans running backs, as Tyjae Spears is getting pretty excited. Talking to the media from OTAs on Wednesday, Spears said that in his mind, the goal is for both players to finish at the top of the running back rankings in 2024. We're pushing each other. We want the best. I want to see both of us in top 5, rushing top 5 best backs this year. With the O-line we've got, we can reach those heights, but we've got to push each other, and it starts now. If we rewind a bit, we can talk about last week's quote from the head coach. I can't wait to start playing around and using them in different ways because they both do things differently. They're unique. Tony's got great acceleration and great explosiveness with the ball in his hands. Tyjae does too, and Tyjae's got really great short area quickness. So anytime you can find some way to match those guys up in the passing game on linebackers, it's a huge benefit for us. They're hard to cover. They can run routes like receivers, which is unique. I've not seen guys like them often. And we have 2 of them. And we saw last year from Tyjae Spears that he was keeping Derrick Henry off the field. He had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 games last season with a more than 50% snap share. That's very, very impressive given the other running back that was on the field is named Derrick Henry, a guy who historically has had a massive snap share. So Tyjae Spears is a huge buy because on top of those 11 games with more than 11 or more than a 50% snap share, he had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 games with more than 4 or more targets, which is, again, awesome. And this is going to be a different philosophy offense now as well. Last year, having all those games with that many targets is incredible being the backup. Now he's a 1A type 1B type running back in a more pass-happy offense that's going to throw the ball a ton and utilize these running backs as pass catchers. I've said this time and time again now. This has been the number one target, backfield target for me this offseason, really. I think you can get them both for a decent enough price. And the fact that they're both going to be successful next season just makes me all the more excited. I would not be surprised if both Tyjae Spears and Tony Pollard finished in the top 20 in terms of total fantasy points, but then also both average like at least 5 targets a game. I really think that these guys are going to be special next season. I want to be buying into them wherever I can right now. Does that mean the wide receivers are fades if the running backs get all the work? No, I don't. I mean, I think Calvin Ridley, if any of them, is probably a fade, but I am targeting Tyler Boyd, and I am damn sure targeting DeAndre Hopkins. We can see what happens with Chig and Burks. Like, if you can get them for free-ish, I don't mind. I like those players and the athleticism. I think that they still have some potential there. But I just think that this Titans offense, and especially Will Levis, is a massive target in fantasy right now. They're going to chuck the ball. We'll see what that means for wins. I don't care about if that means this team is going to be good. I care about if this team's going to score fantasy points. And when I'm picturing an offense headed by Will Levis and the old Bengals offensive coordinator that was letting Jake Browning sling it, I get pretty excited. I think that there's going to be, at least 35, 40 pass attempts a game on this offense. It's going to go to the running backs, but it's going to go to the wide receivers as well. Again, I think Tyler Boyd is a very, very sneaky target right now. He is so cheap, and he's sticking with his coach, the Bengals offensive coordinator that he found so much success with, now going to be his head coach in Tennessee. I think that I know they're not paying him a ton of money, but they're going to ask him to play a pretty significant role on this offense. And it might not mean, like even 7 targets a game, but like 5 targets a game. Not bad for a cheap end of roster flyer like Tyler Boyd. So either way, getting pretty excited about the Titans running backs, but also, of course, getting very excited about really the Titans offense in general. And again, I say just buy Will Levis because he's going to pass the ball a ton. Could crash and burn, but he should score fantasy points. Worst case, he's Sam Howell. You get a good season out of him, and, that's it. Or, he becomes the starting quarterback for the NFL for the next few years. So either way, good stuff coming out of Tennessee, getting pretty excited. Some hype building around that offense. Some other hype is building around another running back and really the whole backfield, but especially Mr. Jahmyr Gibbs. This is what was said about Lions assistant head coach and running backs coach Scotty Montgomery said of Gibbs. What we need him to do from a passing game standpoint is to go to that next level. I do think there's a certain difference between route running from the backfield and being a really, really sufficient and efficient check down runner versus what it is to be a great route runner, a guy that can run all types of choice routes. We know I've seen him do those things, but now can you go in the slot and do a little bit more down the field? Can you do some intermediate stuff? And can we continue to grow from there? That's what we're trying to do. The next step is consistency for 7 games. or 17 games. We got to see game 1, game 2, game 3, game 4. We're past that point now where he's coming along. He understands pass protection, and he needs to understand that part of it and the requirements to go along with it. The second part is we're going about as far as what he can do. He was ready last year to start doing more and more and more. And our talent at other positions, at receiver, at tight end, sometimes it all kind of works together so the ball gets equally distributed. It's all over the tape. I think when you have guys that are super talented that are going from good to great, it's probably the hardest thing you have to do. A lot of people think about when you get to that level, I've done a good job, but right now they all feel like, man, we weren't good enough. And that's the way that we're going to fight complacency. It's also the way that we're going to take the next step, and that is what we expect. We need to see another step. So Jahmyr Gibbs had a good year last year. He had 52 receptions for 316 receiving yards. He found himself number 9 in target share, number 10 in routes run, and had the 9th most receptions among running backs, but he only took those 9th most receptions for the 16th most receiving yards. So he wasn't crazy efficient as a receiver. So they just want to see a bit more ceiling from him. Some interesting things from that quote is that they do mention that they want to try to work him in the slot. I think that could be fun. It might be a bit tough to pull off with Amon-Ra St. Brown in there, but, you know, it makes sense. Jahmyr Gibbs is a pretty exciting pass-catching running back. So, again, I mean, Jahmyr Gibbs, hype building around him. Already probably the dynasty RB1, dynasty RB3 at worst, but still just to hear some extra pass-catching work going his way from the running back coach, assistant head coach. That's awesome news. So, I mean, if you still got Jahmyr Gibbs, probably hold on to him. But if you hear an offer come in, that's pretty awesome. I don't mind trading him away as well. I did trade him away in the Trade Gods League because I got like a ridiculous pay. So that's why I had to move on. And if you can get something like that, I don't mind it. But either way, it sounded like hype is good. Sounded like he's going to get more receptions next season. When you already had the 9th most, I mean, as a rookie, it probably does make sense. He'll maybe finish like top 5. So anyway, Jahmyr Gibbs looking good. Pretty exciting stuff. And lastly, I'll say before I move on to the next bit of news, I just want to say again, to put myself on the record, you should be drafting Bijan Robinson, Breece Hall, and Jahmyr Gibbs in these early best ball drafts. I think that those are going to be the running backs that become focal points for the winning rosters. I know that hero or zero RB is an important strategy, but I really think this year it's going to be hero RB with one of those running backs, Bijan, Breece, Jahmyr, maybe even Saquon, just because they're a decent value right now, and they all 4 have the chance to really be the RB1 if they can stay healthy and get the stuff. So anyway, that is Jahmyr Gibbs. Another running back room with some hype building around is the Bengals running back room. This is what Zach Moss had to say about replacing Joe Mixon. I think it is big shoes to fill in that sense of things. But like I said, my job is not to worry about the past. It's to go out there and do my job at a high level, whatever my job looks like. Moss expects to split duties in Cincinnati with Chase Brown, who showed dynamic speed in spurts as a rookie. Moss said we're definitely 2 different types of backs. Like I said, he's crazy fast, but I think that I'll play a good role in the offense too. Keep the defense on its feet, heels, whatever, and then you get guys fresh all year long, things like that. I'm looking forward to continue to build that chemistry. Most of my career, I've pretty much split time with somebody else, and I think that's kind of where the league is at right now. You really only have maybe 2 or 3 guys that are predominantly in the backfield by themselves, so I never really worry or think about that. I'm looking forward to seeing what a guy like Chase will be able to do and the good things that he will be able to do to continue build himself throughout this league. And when it's my turn, I'm going to do the same things, and it'll make it a little easier. When I was in Indy with Jonathan Taylor, I was excited when he came back from injury just because it made things easier on me and defenses wore down. So like I said, I'm just going to take that experience, bring it here with these guys, and just kind of help from that standpoint. Sounds like this is going to be another committee backfield in Cincinnati, probably as expected. I do want to double check before I run my mouth here, but I am almost positive that Zach Moss is more expensive than Chase Brown right now in best ball, in dynasty, really at all. I think Chase Brown is a little bit of a value right now. We saw some good weeks from him last year. Namely, of course, we had the 19.5 point game against Indianapolis in week 14. He had 8 carries, and he had 3 receptions, had 105 total yards and a touchdown. Yes, of course, that was a screen that he housed, but we saw some electricity from him. It really, really was special. And if you look at his ADP right now, he is 121.2 on Underdog. Zach Moss is, it's right around that range, 92.4. So a few rounds before Chase Brown, Zach Moss is going. But in this quote, and like anyone can tell if you go to PlayerProfiler, Chase Brown is a much more dynamic back. And I know that we saw some success from Zach Moss in Indianapolis last season, but Chase Brown could do just so many more things than Zach Moss can. And so I want to take the cheaper shot on Chase Brown in this offense. If you have Zach Moss, it's whatever. I'm sure he's going to be fine, like a David Montgomery light in this offense. That's not anything bad. But I just think Chase Brown is going to see the field more than people are expecting. I think he's going to catch a ton of passes, and I think it's just going to be, a split backfield. Chase Brown's going to be asked to do the Joe Mixon pass catching work, and Zach Moss is going to be asked to do a lot of the between the tackle stuff. But Chase Brown, too, he's 5'10", 210 pounds, has decent BMI, and some pretty solid burst. He has a 93rd percentile college dominator. So, I mean, he can probably run between tackles as well at his size and speed. So my shot's going to be on Chase Brown in this backfield, to be completely honest with you guys. Moving on to another backfield, we've got some Deuce Vaughn hype right now. Deuce Vaughn at Cowboys OTAs is being worked in the slot right now. He's, of course, 5'6" and a tiny, tiny guy, but we do know that he's a really good receiving back. We saw at Kansas State, he had a 96th percentile college target share with 16.7%. He had back-to-back seasons at Kansas State with over 40 receptions and back-to-back seasons with over 1,500 total yards, and stayed healthy pretty much his entire college career despite his frame. We had a little bit of hype bubble up for Deuce Vaughn last offseason because we know that he's the son of the Dallas Cowboys, one of the Dallas Cowboys scouts, if not the head scout for the team. So we thought there might be a little bit of a nepotism play here. To hear him play out in the slot receiver right now in OTAs, it is kind of interesting. But I would be a little concerned hearing that, as it sounds like they don't want to use him as a running back, that they are scared of his frame, and that they just want to use him as a pass catcher. Nothing wrong with that, but it sounds like, he's like, RB4, still kind of buried on the depth chart. Not too much to expect from him unless he does become a really good pass catching guy. Vaughn said about this, it was one of those things that we kind of talked about at the end of the season. Talked with offensive coordinator Brian Schottenheimer a little bit about getting with the slot, and so I've just been learning about it. I did it in college, and I love to do it. And so, yeah, I don't know, nothing too crazy, but if you're in a very deep league, he's sitting on the waiver wire, you've got the room, I don't mind just picking him up and seeing what could happen. Again, I don't think this is going to lead to any type of really running back opportunity share, but as a, just a true form running back, like actually carrying the ball. But, he could get a few targets a game, maybe a few catches. And if there's injuries or whatever, and it becomes the pass catching back, it could be fine. But again, he's still 5'6", he's still 180 pounds, still super undersized. Despite being able to stay healthy in college, the NFL is just a whole different story. So I don't know. We'll see. But it's interesting to hear at least. And guys, the running back hype keeps building as DeAndre Swift has some hype building around him too. This is what head coach Matt Eberflus said. DeAndre Swift is just a weapon back. We really needed that guy that can operate on third down and even first and second and be a weapon in the deep part of the field and the short part of the field and able to take it the distance. Swift has a lot of gas. DeAndre Swift went on to talk about the Bears, and he said, I feel like we've got a lot of stuff in this offense to get our playmakers the ball. And is just excited about what the Bears offense can do in general. And then, of course, Matt Eberflus continued and said that DeAndre's looks really good this offseason. As you guys know, he's really quick. He's a weapon out of the backfield, which is just outstanding for us. It's going to create some mismatches. He can do a lot of things from the backfield. We can split him out wide. He can run the full route tree. So he's exciting to watch. DeAndre Swift, though, doesn't anticipate being a workhorse, nor does he think that's the best approach. Whatever they see fit for me, that's kind of how I've always been. Nowadays, you need that kind of 1, 2, 2, 3, multiple guys. It's a long season and a lot of games are played. You need the multi-back system as far as the season goes to keep guys fresh. So, it sounds like the Bears are very excited to have Swift, but it also sounds like they could be a little bit smart in his usage, which is totally fine. We saw from last year a breakout season from DeAndre Swift, his healthiest season yet, getting to play 16 games. He finished with over 1,000 rush yards. He finished with 39 receptions for 214 receiving yards, but he did have a tendency to fall down at the one, only scored 6 total touchdowns, and led to a ridiculous amount of tush pushes from Jalen Hurts. On this offense, hopefully it's a little bit different. I do think that it fits his skill set a little bit more, and I do think that DeAndre Swift will be very, very helpful for Caleb Williams next season. DeAndre Swift, I do think, is a value right now at both his ADP and his dynasty rankings, and I do not mind buying him. He's still pretty young, and he's coming off his best season yet, and is signing a pretty decent contract with 3 years, $24 million, which is not too shabby for running backs in this current market. So I like DeAndre Swift. This is a player that we've all kind of liked a long time. He's got a great profile and has been absolutely electric when healthy. We finally saw a healthy season from him, so hopefully that trend can continue, and we see his best season yet in Chicago. Don't mind buying into him. Let's go Swift. And the last bit of news I have for you guys revolves around Spencer Rattler. Now, of course, guys, you know I am not getting too excited about him, but the door has been opened for Spencer Rattler to actually get the starting job. They want him competing this offseason. This is the quote from head coach. The plan is that he comes in and basically competes. We'll let the cards kind of play out as they do. We felt like this player was probably more of a second or third round talent, and that is what a lot of people were echoing around the industry. Spencer Rattler coming into college was expected to be a first round draft pick in his time at Oklahoma. He has some really good intangibles, has the athleticism, and has decent college stats, but I'll just leave it at that. Totally decent. He actually never really tapped into the ceiling that a lot of people expected from him. And again, I thought he was incredibly disappointing at the Senior Bowl. He didn't really back that up with a great combine performance either. So I still think he's going to be a backup. But this is Derek Carr we're talking about that he has to beat out. It's not that tall of a task for him to be able to do. So I would say, like, it's possible. I'm going to put it at a low percent chance. I think Derek Carr is a much better quarterback than Spencer Rattler. But, you know, he doesn't give much excitement. He hasn't been that great in New Orleans, and they might just, pull the plug and see what happens with Rattler towards the end of the season. But I think if he gets his chance, he's not going to do that great. My comp for Spencer Rattler has been like Desmond Ridder, like just a guy who could maybe, go in and play at some point, but he's really not going to be that good. That's my thoughts on Spencer Rattler, at least. We'll see. It's good to hear that, the Saints are at least believing him and excited to see what he can do in the competition, quarterback competition in New Orleans. That is everything I have for you guys. So don't accidentally drive down the 129. And then, of course, listen to all the hype building around the offseason. Do we have any questions from the audience? Does not appear so. Looks like I did a great job answering those as we went through. So, guys, as always, thank you so much for a wonderful episode, and I hope to see you all tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern on the Player Profiler, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Go ahead and hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and follow me on social media at JFootballWine, wherever you have it. You guys have a magnificent Monday and a great week. We'll be back here tomorrow with Memphis Young, so tune into that. Y'all have a great one. Peace.
Hey, I want to thank you for being part of this broadcast. If you have any thoughts on it, leave a comment. If you enjoyed it, make sure you leave a like. And if you want to see more shows on the Player Profiler channel, subscribe to it. That's how we know you want more.